I want you to talk about the Veterans
Oh,
Memorial.
yeah. Veterans Memorial, and I'll have Mr. Finn comment. I know Mr. Pettit is very anxious about this. He sent us an email outlining his position. So Mr. Finney has looked through our budget, and I think he's discovered a way to find some money to fund at least fund the Veterans Memorial. I think I'll let you tell Dave, a couple issues. There's some technical issues with the memorial. We can get into that if we fund it. So I'll let Dave explain how we can possibly fund it.
Well, in an effort to find ways that we can get this memorial financed and moving on down the line, we reviewed the appropriations, and I found that in the general fund, under the line item machinery, equipment, furniture, we have $5,000 available there we could use. And then also, if we were to take the purchase order, there's a payment for the new truck that we made a $10,000 payment. $5,000 came from the general fund, and $5,000 came from the gasoline tax. If we were to rework that payment, purchase order and payment, so that $5,000 comes from the gasoline tax and $5,000 comes from the road and bridge fund, that would release $5,000 more in the general fund. So that would make $10,000 available. And then there's perhaps $3,000 available in our general fund salaries category. And we have received $2,000 from the Queen of Hearts people as a donation. So that's yet to be allocated. So it could be as much as $15,000 pumped into it, depending on the discretion of the trustees.
Is that in addition to the 58 or whatever that we have?
That's in addition to the donated money.
Okay. Mr. Finn, when you talk about the truck payment, 10,000 was split. If we, in 5 from the road and bridge and 5 from the general fund, if the 5 from the general fund went back into the budget, where would the 5 come from? Would it come from the road and bridge then?
Well, it doesn't come from the road and bridge. You take the general fund off and use the road and bridge to cover it, so that means there's no money from the general fund paid on.
Correct. It would be 10,000 from road and bridge, not 5 and 5. 5 from road and bridge and 5 from general.
Yes. But it's just a mere technicality saying it's 5 from road and bridge, because you have 5 available because you changed to road and bridge. It's just a little technicality.
We received the $2,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Joe delivered it on Tuesday.
So who's in charge of the Veterans Committee? Who's in charge of this whole project?
There really isn't a chairperson. Mr. Penn is probably the person, and what we need to do is, if the trustees fund it and allocate these funds, then we're going to have to assign a project manager, and I'm not sure. I know somebody I'd like to ask to do it. We really need to, if we allocate the funds, we need a project manager. And the project manager will take the project over.
It sounds kind of opposite. Shouldn't we have a project manager to figure out what needs done, and then have a budget and a timeline and orchestrate everything, and then that person could coordinate what funds are needed?
Well, we did some initial financial, we needed it anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000.
So the total project budget needs to be 12 to 15.
15,000, that's estimate. But we need a project manager, but the project manager doesn't have any money to start doing anything. So I think, if we assign or if we get a project manager, we can work with the committee then and get things moving. So.
Do we have a finalized layout of what this is going to look like?
Yes. Yeah.
Actually, we don't. You've got a suggestive drawing of what it's going to look like without the details of how the names are going to be put on.
Right.
And so on and so forth, plus the fact that the design that I drew up has really not officially been approved by the Board of Trustees yet, has it?
No, if I'm right, there were two designs, and I don't think it was decided.
Mr. Knowlton did the one, which was a nice drawing, and I modified it, but I'm just saying officially we haven't.
We had an architect draw something.
And Mr. Manfres.
Manfres drew it too, that's right.
Yeah, we have an architectural drawing.
I didn't bring a
I'd
copy.
say we can get copies of that yet, then. I haven't seen a copy of it.
We had it in a meeting. David brought to a meeting.
That's what we had last time.
Not last meeting, but I did bring it to the
Okay.
meeting.
Mr. Elias, remind me again, who's part of the Veterans Committee that's working on this?
Mr. Pettit, Joe, Bob Wiseman, Shirley. Anything, who else? Was anybody else? Shirley? And me. But we've never really formalized, it started back in 2014. A little background is, we got some funding, and to Joe's credit, he got a nice donation. We got a nice donation from Mr. Park, but we never...
Mr. Barr.
Yeah. I sent out 84 letters and visited 50-some companies, and it just never... So we had a plan that was going to cost us about $60,000. We bagged that in, realizing, number one, it was just it was too big of a project, and we're never going to raise $60,000. And the second issue was there was going to be too much space on there. We're going to have like 300-some people, veterans, and it was going to be 4,000 spaces for veterans, so it just didn't make sense. So what happened was, this past year, we came up with the idea, we'll put a wall up, and Chuck had the idea of putting it right out here in the front. And that's when we got the architect involved, and he made the drawings. So now, if we get this $12,000, $15,000, $20,000, whatever funds we require, we can put up the wall. There is some, Joe's right, there's some technical issues about the facade and how you put the plaques up and things like that. There are some options. You can put up, you can have them embossed and glue them up as tiles, or you can have stainless steel labels put up. So there are some options. What we're going to do with anybody that donated, they're going to have a paver on the walkway around it, and depending on how much you donated, the size of the walkway. We have two people, I think Shirley's one of them, that is going to donate a bench. So we have a pretty much idea of what we're going to do in terms of what we need now is a project manager and money. If we had a project manager, we could really get things moving.
Were the original plans to solicit donations to pay for the project in its entirety?
Yes.
So now that doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
Oh, it's not going to happen. Trust me. This whole area is built from the fire. I mean, we knew what happened with the fire. Like I said, I dropped off 50-some letters. I mean, we worked real hard. Shirley dropped off some letters. We worked very hard to get donations and came up with nothing, really. We came up with like $8,000, $9,000, and we spent a little bit of it, and it's down to $5,800.
Yeah, I think it's about a couple $1,000 spent or so.
Yeah, so I mean, that's really where we're at. I think it's an embarrassment if we don't do it, but, and we owe it to like Mr. Randall, Mr. Knowlton, Mr. Pettit to do it. And so Mr. Pettit called me today and said we want to make sure that we really seriously look at this. So,
Chuck, you and Roger came up with did you not come up with a cost factor under the basic for
2,000.
The foundation and the,
Yeah, important, here we go, okay. Yeah, the fork for the foundation and the wall, the basic wall, wasn't it? You wanted to do that 1/4, is that correct?
I figured at 25 feet, but we really don't have there's no blueprint to, that cost that I come up with is going off of what I think will pass an inspection. I don't know what they're gonna call for exactly. Yeah, there's no blueprint to go off of yet.
Ted Mattress can fix that for us.
Right.
we did a cursory number, we chucked it, and it was put in footers, and it was about $1,000. And I did some numbers for the pavers and for the brick and everything. I came up with like 14.5 budgetary number. But that's with a 10% overage and things like that. But again, it would be what kind of exercise? It would be an exercise if we didn't have any money to do it. So
I'm just struggling with there's no, I'd say the lack of organization for the project, and it's hard to make decisions based on that.
well, we need to get a project manager. And if we had a project manager, and you have the money, and you can get a blueprint very quickly, then you can move on. So
You had somebody in mind, who was that? You said you had somebody in mind for project?
well, I have to talk to him. He recently had a part-time job, but he recently left that part-time job. So I don't want to mention his name until unless he wants to say something.
So what do you suggest moving forward, Mr. Ross?
I suggest that, we're not spending the money. All we're doing is allocating the money into a different fund. We're not spending it. It's not like we're paying a bill. I'm making a motion that we allocate the funds per what David just suggested and just allocate it in there. We can always take the money out or refund it back in.
I just see that as unnecessary work. Unless we're sure of what we're doing, why do it?
The other thing that I'm concerned about are two things. The money that we got from the Queens 50/50 was not necessarily delegated towards the monument. It was, when I got a call from Aaron, it was, does the township need money for something other than the Vets Memorial? Since we were supposed to be in line eventually to get money for the Vets Memorial. And that 2,000, Kathy Talicki mentioned maybe it could be applied towards, excuse me, the gazebo that the ladies' clubs are wanting to put out here. So Kathy, how many years have you guys worked towards this gazebo?
We've been working on this for 13 years. It's only from our sales, so our plant sale once a year, when we can get enough plants to sell. And right now, I'm just giving you like rounded numbers because I don't know for sure, but we've got about 5,300. And Barb Smear is working with, her husband is working with somebody. The building would be 4,000, and labor for building this thing would be about 3,000. So we were hoping you guys would consider some of that money from the Queen of Hearts going towards this project.
Now, I talked to Mr. Pettit since maybe a couple meetings ago, and I talked to him to see if it would be worth doing some type of raffle. And he contacted Ted Lysick about the motorcycle raffle that they did for the school. And from what the feedback I received from Mr. Pettit via Mr. Lysick was it wasn't worth.
No.
So basically, I was just looking at, are there other opportunities to try to generate funds? So
Well,
that's
if you look at what we've done, for example, for the food bank, like spaghetti dinners, things like that, they don't just generate enough revenue, and they're a lot of work. And so, really, I don't see any way other than businesses funding funding it directly, and we went through that process in 2014.
That was how long ago?
2014, but
Things have changed a bit since then, of course. I mean, it might be worth another shot to go back out and start talking to some of these folks again.
who's gonna do it, Joe? You
I
gonna
will
do
do
it?
some, I'll do some of it, of course. I've done it before, I'll do it again. I got 5,000 from Mr. Bonner. I think that's not a bad start, so we could continue on with that. The other thing is, like I said, things have changed and there's potential there, I think, and as we're getting closer to making this a reality, I think, you know, from that point in time, like Roger emphasized over and over again, the money went to a couple other areas, the rebuild fund and so on after the fire. Well, it's been over 3 years now, and I think maybe there's some potential out there for us to, hopefully for us to tap into. We've got some new township things happening. So I'm saying that there's probably room to do something there as a possibility, just raise some extra funding that way, instead of having the township fund the whole thing. Just a suggestion, you know. But I think I agree with Kevin as far as reallocating these funds right now. We don't know what we're gonna need. If you get your project manager together and you get some more solid numbers, and this one Amishman Reuben Byler, being a mason, bricklayer, whatever, was offering assistance in this thing. He had some suggestions. I've not been able to go down and see Mr. Byler yet. He suggested some possible stones that could be donated, maybe the slabs. That's from a company that he works with, so I haven't been able to reach out to him to finalize or get any more details on that, but I will do that. So I think we've got some options to look at here, but we need more. Again, I think, you know, you guys like the drawing I did, and I appreciate that, but we have to finalize what's going to be the best method to get the names put on and start pricing some of that. So maybe, again, that's where your project manager would come in handy, and we can start proceeding with this.
Somebody else right here.
What's that, Terry?
Could do some actual fundraisers instead of begging for money. Most people don't want to give money with nothing in return. There's a few fundraisers out there that we had looked at, other than the yard sale that we had. You can't say you can't make money at a fundraiser, because we raised over $50,000 to build a ball field, and we're approaching $50,000 now to build a pavilion, all from hard work and not begging. Nobody's donated any money whatsoever without having some kind of a fundraiser to get it. Now, we looked at it. You know the candy bars the school sells? You can go get a hold of them online. The candy bar fundraisers are the best because you get 50%. All those candy bars that they sell for $1, you get to keep 50 cents. All the other stuff is like 10 to 12% is what you get to keep. So all you're doing is running around wasting all your time making them money. But with the candy, at least you get 50% of it, which sell a zillion candy bars. Get the peanut butter, I like them.
How many cases would you like?
But yeah, there's other fundraisers on there if you do a search on them, that can be done. But as far as I know, the memorial group or whatever it is, they never had one fundraiser yet, have you, Mike?
No.
No. I said they were talking spaghetti dinners at one time, but
You raised $1,500 for spaghetti dinner, maybe.
well, that's $1,600 you didn't have. That's the way we looked at it. $1,600 is $1,600 to be good.
Right, I agree. People are more willing to donate money if there's something in it for them, a prize or.
Yeah.
Well, I'll make a motion, we reallocate the money. Let me just ask for a second.
Am I hearing a second, so the motion dies?